Welcome to Soama Media.
This reflection is not meant to mock African traditions, deny spiritual realities, or dismiss ancestral knowledge. It is an invitation to examine how power, fear, and interpretation affect human relationships both in traditional societies and in the modern world. Understanding does not weaken culture. It strengthens it. When people hear the word witchcraft, the mind often jumps immediately to darkness, danger, and fear. But Elias Kaifon Bongba's work, African Witchcraft and Otherness, does something very different. Instead of asking, "Is witchcraft real?" he asks a far more important question. What happens to human relationships when fear becomes the lens through which we see one another? Bongba does not write as an outsider looking in. He writes as someone who grew up inside the world he analyzes among the Wimbam people of Cameroon, where what is called Tifu is not superstition, but a lived social reality. In Wimbam society, witchcraft is not just about magic. It is about misfortune. When illness, death, or conflict appears without explanation, the community asks, "Who did this?" And once that question is asked, someone inevitably becomes the other. This is where Bongba's work becomes deeply relevant to today. Because even now in 2026 we still live in societies that search for someone to blame. Only the language has changed. Today we don't always accuse people of witchcraft. We accuse them of being toxic, dangerous, jealous, evil, negative energy. And once labeled, the person is no longer seen as human, they become a threat. Bongba shows that accusations of witchcraft often emerge not from evil intent, but from fractured relationships. Envy, inequality, power imbalance, jealousy, inheritance disputes, success, migration, money, all these tensions create fear inside community life. And fear, when left unexamined, looks for a body to sit on. Someone must carry it. What makes his analysis powerful is that he refuses to treat African belief systems as irrational. Instead, he criticizes how power is used within them. He explains that Tifu is believed to be a form of knowledge, and like all knowledge, it can be used constructively or destructively. The real ethical problem arises when that power is used to dominate, silence, or destroy the dignity of another person. This is where Bongba introduces the philosophy of Emmanuel Levinas, the idea of the other. Levinas teaches that ethics begins not with rules, religion, or tradition, but with the face of another human being. When you truly see someone's face, their humanity interrupts your desire to control them. Bongba applies this directly to witchcraft accusations. He argues that the moment a community stops seeing a person's face, their story, their vulnerability, their dignity, justice collapses. And suddenly, the system meant to protect the community begins to harm it. This is where the book quietly speaks to modern life. Because we see the same pattern today, just dressed differently. Online, people are accused, exposed, labeled, and exiled with little investigation. In families, elders are cut off. In spiritual spaces, people are called dark, low vibrational, or dangerous without conversation. The ritual has changed. The psychology has not. Fear still turns people into others. Bongba also challenges something important, the idea that culture should never be questioned. He argues that respecting tradition does not mean suspending ethics. If a practice causes exile, violence, humiliation, or death, then moral reflection becomes necessary. That statement alone is powerful, especially today. Because many people are caught between two extremes, on one side, rejecting all tradition as backward. On the other, defending harmful behavior in the name of culture. Bongba walks a middle path. He does not deny spiritual realities. He does not deny ancestral systems. But he insists that human dignity must remain central. This is a lesson modern spirituality desperately needs. Too often today, spiritual language is used to escape accountability. People say that's energy instead of having conversations. They say they're jealous instead of addressing conflict. They say the ancestors showed me instead of examining their own wounds. Bongba reminds us that spirituality without ethics becomes dangerous. And ethics without compassion becomes cold. The heart of his work is this: community cannot survive if it eats its own members. That line echoes deeply when we look at modern societies. Cancel culture, public shaming, digital exile, family fragmentation, spiritual paranoia. Different forms, same dynamic. When misfortune appears, instead of asking what happened, we ask who did it. And once someone becomes the who, empathy dies. Bangba's work is not about abolishing belief systems. It is about restoring relationship. He shows that justice is not punishment first, it is listening. It is creating space for the accused to speak. It is refusing to reduce a human being into a symbol of fear. That lesson matters now more than ever. Because in a world moving faster, louder, and angrier, people are losing the ability to sit face to face. And without face-to-face humanity, suspicion multiplies. In the end, African witchcraft and otherness is not truly about witchcraft. It is about what happens when humans stop seeing each other as human. And that is not an African issue. That is a global one. If this perspective made you think, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. So Ama Media reads and replies to every respectful comment.